Alright, so in this video, in this first video, I'll be going through how to conduct an initial contact. So as we're getting the leads come through, you'll be taking that initial contact, and this framework here is going to show you exactly how to go through that very first conversation to ensure that you set more full meetings, you set more full assessments. Okay, so the basic premise of this framework, this script here, is to first obviously get the ideal goal of the prospect, whatever that ideal goal is. Now we want to introduce a little bit of pain around their situation. We don't want to go into too much depth because again, this is just an initial conversation, right? We want to introduce a little bit of pain, and then we want to give them a really good pitch with a very good offer, with almost like a no-brainer offer for them to take up, right? Now, the reason why we do it this way, other businesses, other companies might just give them that really good offer, but they might not, the prospect might not feel very well understood, and therefore their show-up rates or their meeting booking rates might be lower. But if you do everything on this framework that I'm about to show you, your booking rates, your show-up rates for those full assessments will definitely increase. So you're going to want to share this with whoever's going to be taking that initial call, whether it's yourself or if it's yourself, you obviously want to learn it as best as you possibly can, or whether it's the team, you want to share this document with the team and make sure they're practicing it. And you want to get it to a point where obviously you don't sound like you're reading off a script, right? You might want to change the wording around a little bit as well, just so it sounds, it comes across the way you would normally speak, right? But the language I've used in this is very, how can I say it? Most people would say things the same way I've written it here, right? But if there's anything you want to change, you can go ahead and do that. Right, so when the call comes through, this is how we would answer the phone. You'd probably do this already anyway. So hi, you've come through to Josh at ABC Law Firm. How can I help? Right? The reason why we say how can I help is because we want to get what their goal is. What is their ideal outcome? Right? But we use how can I help because this is everyday language, right? Now they'll tell you how you can help, what their goal is, right? Now once they ask that, we then want to say, is there anything else you need help with, or is it just that? Because we want them to really flesh out, however small they think or however not important they think their goal is, or any of their goals, we want them to kind of spell it out. So we want to always ask, is there anything else you need help with, or is it just that? Most of the time they will just say, no, it's just really that. I'm wanting to find a solution for that. Okay, that's great, no problem. Now we want to understand what their current situation is. Right, now when we ask this next question, this is what's going to get them to really flesh out their current situation and what they've been through, where they're currently at now. Now what we want to do with this question is obviously get them talking. But when you ask this question, so tell me about your current situation, just so I have a good understanding. When they're explaining, all you're going to be doing is qualifying them, right? Because we want to be having meetings, full assessments with people that are ideal prospects, right? So they're talking about their situation, but in your head, you're obviously listening, but you're also making sure they qualify as a potential client. Right? So they'll tell you about their current situation. Now it's your role, it's your job to ask them prompting questions. So if there's something that you want them to go in depth in, you obviously just ask, can you just tell me a little bit more about that? Just so I have a clearer picture, and then they'll go on and explain even more and more and more. Now, when some people are explaining their situation, they might touch on some pain points in there, which is good because we want to touch on pain points. We don't want to go too deep into it, but we want to touch on them. So they might do that in that question as well. So once they've given you the full explanation, if you have any other qualifying questions, you just want to ask them here as well, just to make sure they fully qualify, right, as a potential client. Once you've done that, you then go into the next question. So so you can either ask this one of two ways, depending on their goal and depending on your service area, right? You'll know what type of way to ask it. So you want to say, how long have you wanted that? Right? You want to say, how long have you wanted that? Or you want to say, how long have you known that you needed to get this done? Right? How long have you known that you needed to get this done? Because again, we want to touch on the pain point of their situation, right? We're not going too in depth, but we want to touch on it. And we want them to also recognize it as well. They might say, I've wanted to get this done for a while now, right? So again, we're not introducing too much pain, just a little bit. I've known I needed to get this done for a while, for 2 months, for a month, for a year, for 2 years, for 10 years, right? Okay. And if I can ask, so this is the last question, this is a very key question. If I can ask, how come you've not been able to get that done? How come you've not been able to get that done? So in the last month, in the last 2 months, how come you've not been able to get that done? Now, their answer here is going to be very key, because that is most likely the issue that they're facing. Right, I've just been too stressed to even think about it. I've just not had the time, work. I've not had the time to even look at it. Okay, so you've not had the time, and you've been stressed, or whatever their answer is. We want to make a note of that answer. Okay, so that's a very key question you want to ask. Now, going into the pitch. Now, what we want to do, the whole aim of this initial contact is to sell the meeting, right? To set the meeting, to sell the full assessment, whatever that looks like, right? Whether there is a Zoom call or whether it's a face-to-face meeting. So we go into a pitch, right? So the pitch will sound something like this. You might want to change things around a little bit, but it shouldn't be too wordy. It shouldn't be too long, right? So, all right, Josh, we can look at helping you solve. We can look at helping you solve this problem, so you can actually get your application successful, or you can actually get your XYZ goal, right? So we've helped X amount of people over the last couple of years in your exact situation, and we've helped them actually get the result that they were looking for, right? We have an overall 98% success rate with these sorts of issues, or with these sorts of claims. Have you seen our reviews on Google? If you have a decent Google review rating, you can ask this question. If they say no, you can say, yeah, just search up XYZ law firm, and you'll see all the people that we've been able to help. And if they say yes, that's great. I hope you can see how we've been helpful to people in your situation as well, right? Now, this is the close to set the meeting, and we're going to give them obviously a really good offer, because they might think, oh gosh, they might, give me a price now, or they might charge me something now for this, but we want to hit them with like a really good offer. So, Josh, I would like to invite you to come in for a full assessment. So we really want to stress that, use a bit of, tonality there. Want to come in for a full assessment, so we can outline exactly how we can help you. Please bring in whatever information they need, so whether it's ID, whether it's documentation, obviously you know what they'll need. This assessment will be completely free. Again, we want to emphasize that word. This assessment will be completely free, and then by the end of it, you will know the next steps required to move you closer to accomplishing your application, or having a successful application, having a successful claim, whatever the XYZ goal is. Obviously, you never want to mention the word goal or outcome or XYZ goal. You want to just refer back to what they've said. Use what they've said here, what they want. Okay, so this is how you take the initial contact call. Whether it's someone's filled in an inquiry and you're calling them back, you just obviously say, it's Josh calling here from XYZ lawyers. You filled out our contact form. I just wanted to touch base with you. So how can I help? Something to that kind of effect. Okay. So if you follow this, you will set more full face-to-face meetings, more, Zoom meetings. And then in the next video, I'll show you how you can conduct those meetings as well. And then in the third video, I'll show you how you can face any kind of objections that you might get in those full assessments as well. If you have any questions on this, please just reach out to me. But other than that, thank you, and I'll see you on the next call. Or the next video. Alright, there's just one last thing I wanted to add in this section. So when you come all the way to the very end, some people might ask you, so how much do you guys charge for something like this? What would the fees look like for something like this? Now, what you want to do, because you want to make sure your show up rate for the meetings is as high as possible, we don't want to give them a direct answer. Now, you might not even have a direct answer, because sometimes it literally might be down to their particular situation. You then say, yeah, that's perfect. We'll go through exactly what the costings, what the fees would look like on our full assessment. It would be a little bit inappropriate of me to kind of give you a figure now, because we don't yet fully understand your situation and exactly what you require, right? But in that meeting, that's exactly what we're going to be going through. We're going to be going through line by line to see, how this is going to really kind of line, or how this is going to play out. What I'm trying to get at is, you want to almost tell them why you can't give them a specific figure, even though you want to, right? But it would be inappropriate. But in the meeting, we're going to go through that exactly. So saying it that way, you're selling that full assessment more, right? And obviously you'll go through that at the end of the full assessment anyway, but I just wanted to also touch on that. So if you get any other questions, because you don't want to actually start going through a full assessment with someone over the phone when they've just contacted, right? It would be better for you to have a face-to-face meeting or a Zoom meeting where you can really sit down, take the time to go through and determine their need and close them, really. So you don't want to go into too much detail. Everything has to revolve around setting the full assessment, right? I hope that makes sense. Again, if it doesn't, reach out to me. Thank you.